Hey y'all, what's up? It's Friday, so I'm gonna keep it black, but I'm gonna keep it brief. I'm tired, I'm over it, pack it up, let's go. Girl, what are you doing? We have a parking lot to pimp. There's nothing new to say about anything. The House disbanded diversity and inclusion, what more is there to say? Diddy did every single thing all those people ever said he did, what more is there to say? I'm out of here. All right now, Quiet on the Set gave us some very much brand new information. Well, you got me with that one, but I don't wanna talk about trauma today. Regina King, let's talk about Regina King. Ooh, she is having a moment right now. We can do that. Whew, goodness gracious. Regina King's most recent and highly anticipated film, Shirley, had a limited theater release earlier this month, but finally dropped on Netflix this past Friday. I seen it and I must say, I was hoodwinked. What? I mean, if you know anything about Shirley Shirley Chisholm, girl. If you know anything about the first generation American-born to Caribbean immigrants, you know she wasn't nothing to play with. And you know she got started early, been that way all her life. Her father Guyanese and her mother Bajan, neither of them could meet the demands of labor and raise their kids at the same time, so Shirley and her younger sisters were sent to Barbados to live with their grandmama. And Shirley will tell you, it was grandmama Emmeline that taught her not to expect less from anybody and that she deserved just as much as everybody. She didn't have to get that from any of the movements of civil rights she's seen in her lifetime. She knew this as early as the age of 5. However, clearly, she was still very much a product of her environment. Her daddy was heavily influenced by Marcus Garvey, the Jamaican-born immigrant who was literally stoop ladder preaching in the corners of Harlem and throwing parades and such. He was singing a new tune of African fundamentalism and Pan-Africanism that united Black Americans and Black American immigrants in a way they never had been before. Her father was also very much involved in labor unions and workers' rights, so Shirley always had the head, the voice, and in her own words, the balls for politics. I know that's right, Shirley, because some of us, me, simply do not, so stop asking. Anyway, before my good sis Shirley made a name for herself as the first Black woman congressman to ever be elected in 1964, as a school teacher, I might add, the first freshman state legislator to demand that the Speaker of the House change her assignment when they tried to give her busy work. She started out as just the vice president of the Honor Society at Girls High School in Bed-Stuy. At Brooklyn College, of course, she was involved in student government, had the girls and the boys shaking in their boots come debate time. And as a student, built a solid platform on inclusivity, not just for women, but she even made noise in the fight for Black soldiers to have more inclusion and protections during World War II. Graduated magna cum laude, and guess what? She didn't even major in politics. And it would seem as though the best voices for the people do not. She majored in sociology and minored in Spanish, which she employed in everyday grassroots organizations after graduating, engaging Hispanic families and community, galvanizing and eventually radicalizing everybody. Shirley's story of being unbought and unbossed wasn't just a catchy slogan for her 1972 presidential campaign. It was a thing that reverberated throughout her entire life, but we don't get that in the movie. So, if you, like me, expected to turn on this film and be blown away by the part of Shirley that was unwavering and undaunted and fearless, you won't. This movie was much more realistic than that, and in a painfully sobering way. I'm not saying we don't witness Shirley's power and accomplishments and courage. They are simply just not the focus. In this film, we see the consequences and difficulties faced by a woman doing something that nobody, not even her own people, felt was a smart thing to do. She was ostracized by her sisters, constantly battled the pressures of being in an unevenly yoked marriage when her husband proved not to be built for this. People walked out on her. Even the Black Panther Party, the only prominent organization to formally endorse her, felt the need to make her earn it. She was cheated, abandoned, manipulated, and betrayed by the people closest to her. We saw her covered but lonely, called but uncertain. We saw her grieve, which, as Regina King puts it herself, from a very personal place, is love with nowhere to go. It was jarring, and I've never felt more seen. Shirley Chisholm's story might not be new either, but it is timely. We see her activated and revolutionizing at a time where the only two viable options come election year is somebody corrupt and somebody undesirable, but more desirable than an overtly corrupt person. And all Shirley wants to do is give politics back to the people. She doesn't want to play the game. She wants to invigorate young voters, the disenfranchised, which includes white women and Black men, but the ones whose support would make a difference are nowhere to be found. We all know how white women solidarity goes, child, especially back in the day. So I won't waste my breath on that one. But if you came to my tour over the holiday season, you heard me say this. Shirley has always said she faced far more discrimination for being a woman than from being Black. And as far as her male counterparts go, she said verbatim, they think that I want to take power from them, that the Black man must step forward, but that don't mean the Black woman must step back. Hello? And that's big Shirley talking, not the little one. And I thought this was so important because everybody champions Miss Shirley and all of her revolutionary verve today, but she was too revolutionary back then. The NAACP wouldn't even back her. What I realized, and what was re-evidenced in this film, is that radicalism is more often than not frowned upon in the times when it's needed the most. And revolution is only ever really sexy in retrospect. Shirley had miscarriages. Her first marriage fell apart. People called her crazy and a fool. But if Shirley never made those sacrifices, Shirley would have never been Shirley. And that has less to do with her personally going down in history, but more to do with her making a way, being an example, carving out a space, bringing a folding chair for someone else when they wouldn't give her a seat at the table. So forget Hillary, forget Barack Obama. Without Shirley Chisholm, there would be no Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley to pass the Crown Act to protect natural styles, amongst other things. There would be no Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett tearing into these people on the Senate floor for their hypocrisy and December simply not making any sense. There would literally be no Barbara Lee, her protege, who now holds the title as the highest ranking black woman on the Democrat side in Congress. And they are the people we should not only be voting for, but being in open and direct conversation with. Atlanta, you want to know why your packages aren't getting to you? The postman at USPS told me yesterday that the Postmaster General is trying to privatize the USPS in Palmetto Springs. And while double dipping and fattening his own pockets, the USPS here is only guaranteeing express mail, making it look like the USPS workers are not doing their job. And what did he tell me to do about it? Contact my congressman. And that's just our representatives in Congress. Senate is a whole nother game we're still making headway in. Only 22 states have ever elected at least black women to Congress. But since the Senate's establishment in 1789, there have only been 12 black senators, period. And only 3 of them have been black women, and they have never served at the same time. Goodness gracious. But that could change this year with Barbara Lee of California, Angela also Brooks of PG County, Maryland, and Representative Lisa Blunt Rochester of Delaware. All of which are running at the same time, all of which have made calls for a ceasefire, by the way. So, where will you be when it comes time to vote? Like Shirley say, somewhere yelling and screaming? Or will you be putting your vote where your mouth is? I thought we were supposed to be talking about Regina King.